Vice President Mike Pence, Jessica Anderson, former budget official in the first Trump White House, and Chris Cillizza, NewsNation contributor. Hello to you all. Nice to have you all in.
Good to be here.
I thought this was one of the more consequential days of Trump 2.0.
Yes, agreed. It was a big day for President Trump. We're 40 days after Liberation Day when the tariffs were first announced. I think then when we were on this show, we were all really concerned. Were the American people going to pull out their 401ks? Were they going to leave the market? Many of them did. Today was a big rally, and we've talked about this a lot. While the market isn't the only indicator of success for the American people, I think what the stock market has done today, reflecting to the good news over the weekend of the deals coming together between China, which this whole thing was about China, is a good indicator that the president is following through on all of his commitments for the economy, coupled with the tax bill, coupled with seeing all of the results from the deregulatory agenda. It's a good day.
But...
Well, look, it's a good day because he stopped the trade war that he initiated. I think at the same time, you know, when you're announcing price controls, bracing price controls, and basically allowing socialist economies in Europe to determine what we're going to be paying for drugs, I don't think that's conservative policy.
So this is the most favored nation policy that you're referring to, that was the president's executive order, which he signed today, which basically said, look, if whatever country pays for a certain drug, we're not paying X plus, we're paying X, whatever that number is. And your side of the aisle, a lifelong Republican, you call that price controls.
It's absolutely price controls. It's basically socialized. It's socialized economics. I mean, I think
so. Why'd he do it?
Between the trade policy, looking to promote higher taxes on highest earners in America, price controls, you're getting closer and closer to basically having two parties with left-wing ideology when it comes to economics.
You just heard RFK Jr. talk about Bernie Sanders.
Of course, he's a lifelong Democrat. If you're still questioning, he is a Democrat, and those are the people who have tears in their eyes. I do too, for other reasons, though.
I do think Mark hits on an important thing, which is this party right now, if you went back in the time machine to 2012 when Mitt Romney was the Republican nominee for president and Paul Ryan was the Republican vice presidential nominee, it's largely unrecognizable. There's conservative justices, lower taxes, etc. But the views that Donald Trump has, like the populist piece of all of this, which is why I think he did the price controls thing, because look, it's like, do you pay too much for your prescription drugs? Sure. So everyone agrees with that, but it doesn't look like the Republican. I mean, it is a remarkable transformation over not that long a period of time.
Monthly shots of Ozempic, what it costs in Germany, basically Denmark, France, Germany, you're talking at $100 or so, or under. Canada, $155. The U.S., it's $1,000 a month, and that's what he's trying to get at, I guess, Dan.
I guess, but this is also just an executive order that's a press release, essentially. There's no teeth to this. He's saying, I want my department to investigate these things, to look into this stuff, to ask countries to voluntarily participate, or the drug companies to do that. There's no teeth to this. It's a press release. And on the trade pieces, yes, Mark's right. The economy, or the market, is celebrating that he walked away from the ledge. But we're still on the top of the building. There's still a 10% across-the-board tariff, still 20% in other places, including China, still 120% on Chinese products below $800. So all the cheap stuff is still going to absolutely be more expensive. And it's just a pause. It's a ceasefire in this war on the economy. It's the biggest tax increase in American history.
But as I laid out at the top of the show, market's higher since Liberation Day. Oil prices dropping. Labor market is resilient. 177,000 jobs added last month. Unemployment not moving down, staying the same. I heard Jay Powell describe the economy as in quote-unquote solid shape, and that was before the announcement on tariffs. So can't you sit back here, Dan, and say, okay, maybe some of this is working?
When he took office,
I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking the question.
16 million new jobs created under Joe Biden. Inflation gone from 9% down to 2.4%.
It was roller coaster.
Which is where we are today, 2.4%. And the jobs rate was also low. That's what he inherited, a strong fundamental economy. I agree with Jay Powell. But the impact of tariffs has not hit yet. There's that port of Los Angeles where they're waiting for this stuff to come into the port. It's going to be late because stuff's already delayed. There's going to be supply chain issues. If they can find a way out of this, maybe some of the worst damage will get mitigated. But there's still a 10% across-the-board sales tax that's coming that hasn't really hit consumers yet.
I leave the policy to smarter folks on this panel. But what I will say is, from a political perspective, I still don't understand the tariff thing at all. You're right. It's now back to where we were 40 days ago. Okay, above. Yep. But it's not to where we were on January 20th. Right. I know he believes it. And I know he doesn't believe all that many things, but I know he believes it. It's just, it was always obvious, politically speaking, that injecting uncertainty was not going to work. Now, maybe a year from now, we're still pretty far from an election. Maybe a year from now, people have forgotten that. The economy's booming, it doesn't matter. But it's an amazing risk to take. I don't know really what the UK deal is. It that advantageous to us? Is what we get in China that advantageous to us? That it was worth it? We don't know.
Out the China yet, other than the China portion of it, other than just the tariff levels are dropping.
The best way to understand the Trump economic goal here is the whole package.
I think Mark wants to know too.
It's tariffs, it's tax cuts being permanently extending, it's the savings from the deregulatory agenda, and it's reshaping how the American people value success. Is it just the market, or is it more? Is it your family? Is it your schools? Is it parental choice? There's other things that he cares about. So when you talk about the policy that shifts, absolutely, the policy for the Republican Party is day and night what it was in many places from a decade ago. But politically, it's bringing in a whole new crop of voters that this president thinks that he needs to win.
It's day and night from the first administration, Jessica, not just from a decade ago. In the first administration, you were instrumental in helping to cut regulations. The deregulatory low-tax agenda was incredibly successful
for President
Trump.
But he hasn't left that behind.
He has. He's proposed higher taxes on part of his tax bill.
He's pushing it to Congress.
He's proposing price controls as far as what you buy your medicine. He's proposing.
It's remarkable. Just to remind people, he is a Republican president.
It is dramatically different than the first administration policies, and he has basically a play script for how to get it going again. Is what to do in the first administration.
I just want to remind everybody that he got into office because people thought prices were out of control, things cost too much, including healthcare, including drugs, including goods, and every single thing that he has done is going to increase those costs on Americans, including a $700 billion cut. And kicking 14 million people off of Medicare.
Are you there with Dan on that?
Look, not yet. I mean, I'm somebody who thinks that actually the tariffs on China, you have an adversary we should be uniting the world against China, as we did in the first administration. The across-the-board tariffs on all of our friends and allies alike, at 10%, will create it is a tax increase. That's what it is.
I think we should also just note that part of the tariff that's remaining in China is on fentanyl, and it's 20% on fentanyl. And so there are details here that I think do matter, and he did campaign on going against China's direct pushing fentanyl through Mexico to the United States, and that tariff has remained.
It's just look, people make giant bets and it works out, right? It's just, I just think you have to understand. I take Jessica's point that you have to look at sort of a holistic. It's not just the tariffs, not just the tax cut. It's a gigantic bet to inject a huge amount of uncertainty and chaos into both trade and the broader economy and be like, it's going to be fine, and we're going to redefine what success means. Because you know what success means to most people is like be able to pay your bills and buy a thing or two that you want.
Well, as these two heard before many, many times over, we'll see what happens.
See what happens.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for being in. Good stuff. All right, still to come. The president says he's the most transparent president in history.